Hi again. Thought we'd have a little chat from a very cold and windy part of the northeast coastline in England today, while I share a few thoughts on meditation, primarily why I'll never shut up about meditation, because you know what I'm like, I do harp on a bit about it. But here's the thing, mate, imagine if someone said to you that you could take a pill and for a short period of time it would allow you to experience your conscious mind free of your sense of self. Free of all of those nonsensical thoughts that bounce around in that brain of yours. Free of all of those thoughts that get you down. Yes, friend, when you're feeling low or even depressed, it all stems from those thoughts that you're having. But here's the thing, you don't have to take a magic pill to have that experience. It's simply a case of training your mind to focus. And I know people go on about focusing on the breath, but it's not because it's some magical portal to a still mind. It's just because your breathing is always happening, so it's a good focal point for that reason. And plus, by focusing on your breathing, it's not like you have some mantra or religious message to be saying over and over. You're just focusing on your breath, right? But for most people, this is actually a really hard thing to do because so many of us are actually addicted to focusing on our thoughts that we can't keep our awareness on anything else for long. It's like our mind will come up with all of these random rehearsals about what your day will look like in a few hours from now, or what's going to happen when you tell your friend about this thing, what happened the other day. And this voice in our heads, it seems to be us, like we believe it to be us talking to ourselves, right? It's got to be, hasn't it? We're so sure that it is. But then if it really is us, why would we be thinking these same thoughts over and over all the time? Having those repeated conversations with ourselves about what might or might not happen. Because if we were having that conversation out loud with an actual real person, they'd be wondering why we keep talking about the same thing over and over. It's pretty mental when you think about it. We wouldn't want people to know all the crazy thoughts that we have, and yet there's this constant desire in our minds to hear what the next thought will be. Like I said, a lot of the time, if people were to hear what goes on in our minds, they'd think we need putting in a mental institution. In fact, if you look at those random people who talk to themselves in the street out loud, that's exactly what's happening. They're having some of the same conversations that we all have, except there's no filter, so they're having them out loud. And what happens when we look at them? When we look at them, we think that they're crazy, but are the conversations that we have in our mind really that different? And by the way, these conversations that we have, we seem like we have no control over them, don't we? Like they're just constantly happening without any guidance or control. The mind has this amazing ability to just keep giving you a thought to listen to. But if it really was you, why would you need to have a conversation with yourself? You would just do the thing that you're thinking about without having to think about it. Does that make sense? Okay, we're getting a bit deep here, but do you see what I'm saying? It's no different from the dreams that we have at night when we have no control over them, but in this case, we're actually awake. And so through meditation, you finally get to put a gap between having those thoughts and having no thoughts. And when those thoughts come, which they always will, you're no longer at the mercy of being carried away by them. You can actually choose which thoughts to explore and which to simply ignore, and this frees up so much mental space that you're then able to find real solutions to any problems that you may be having, or think up new creative ideas because you're not constantly being distracted by new thoughts. You're training your mind to focus only on the thoughts that you choose to have, the ones that serve you rather than hinder you. Of course, most people don't even get that far, do they? They give it a few days sitting with their eyes closed for 10 minutes while they're actually still thinking about the fact that they're still thinking, and it simply doesn't work for them. Or worse yet, they think that they are meditating when they're sat there with their eyes closed thinking. But when you're truly present, when your focus is like a laser beam locked onto the breath and you repetitiously keep bringing your attention back to the breath every time the mind tries to distract you, over time it's like building this mind muscle. I tell people, I say if you're going to meditate, give it 100% and do it for at least 15 minutes every day for 2 weeks. And then come back and tell me you don't see a difference. See, one of the great things about meditation is when you do start seeing results and gaining power over your mind, you then feel encouraged to keep going. And trust me, mate, when you do keep going, you get this whole new perspective on life, a background level of peace where there is no longer any depression or anxiety because the incessant thoughts that created them are no longer creating them. And that, mate, that is true liberation and freedom from the mind.